Okay, now that we know what the trigonometric ratios are, they're fractions, ratios of sides in a right triangle, how do we use those ratios to find missing lengths? So here's our first example. In this triangle, we know we have a 23-degree angle. We know, we'd like to know how long this side is, marked X, and we do know that this side is 15. Well, the first thing is, what sides are we dealing with? For the, no matter what angle we're dealing with, the 15 is the hypotenuse, because the 15 is opposite the right angle. The X, using the 23-degree angle, is the angle opposite X, is the side opposite the 23-degree angle, is the opposite leg. Okay, so we have we like the opposite leg, and we have the hypotenuse. Now up here is a way of remembering the basic trig ratios. SOHCAHTOA. It tells us that the sine of an angle is opposite over hypotenuse, and that the cosine of an angle is adjacent over hypotenuse, and that the tangent of an angle is opposite over adjacent. Okay, well, in this problem, we have opposite and hypotenuse, and that's what's used in the sine ratio. So we're going to choose the sine ratio. It's always sine, cosine, or tangent of the angle. So we have the sine of 23 is equal to X, the opposite leg, over the hypotenuse, which is 15. We've set up a trigonometric ratio. Okay, now we're going to solve that, just like we'd solve anything else. If we had 7 over here, we'd multiply both sides by 15 to get our answer. So we'll do the same thing. X will be 15 times the sine of 23. Okay, now we grab our calculator. And you want to make sure that you are in degree mode on your calculator, because that's 23 degrees. Your calculator also works in radians, so we need to make sure of that. But assuming that we are there, and I can show you how to fix your calculator if it's not in degrees, we're going to type in 15 sine 23. Now, on your calculator, it's going to look like this. It's going to look like 15 sine, and then then you'll need to complete the parenthesis there. Now, if your calculator doesn't work that way, then you're going to have to do it backwards and go 23 sine and then times 15. What I would prefer you do, though, rather than do that, because it's harder, is just use your iPad's calculator, because it operates this way. All the TI two-liners also, all the two-liners, TI or not, operate in exactly that way. So our answer is going to be approximately 5.861. I had a 0 and a 9, so I rounded it up. The problems in the book a lot of times are going to ask you to take this to the nearest tenth, in which case it would be about 5.9. Okay, so in this example we use sine because we wanted the hypotenuse, we wanted the opposite leg, and we had the hypotenuse, and opposite over hypotenuse is the sine ratio. Okay, one more example. This time we'll have a right triangle again. I will want to know what that angle is, given that this is 22 and this is 15. Okay, again, we've got to determine what trig ratio is going to help us out. Well, I want that angle, so that's the angle I'm going to work from. Notice I don't have the hypotenuse at all. Well, if I don't have the hypotenuse, sine uses hypotenuse, I can't use sine. Cosine uses hypotenuse, I can't use cosine. I've got no choice. I've got to use tangent. And from that angle right there, the 22 would be the opposite leg, and the 15 would be the adjacent leg. Okay, tangent is opposite over adjacent. So here's your trig ratio. The tangent of y, and again remember, you're always going to take the sine, cosine, or tangent of the angle. Okay, the tangent of the y is opposite over adjacent, 22 over 15. Now, on the calculator, we know what the tangent is, and that's normally what you get out when you type tan, so we're going to have to use a different function. It's called the inverse tangent. When we want to know the angle, use the inverse function. So, y, which is the angle, will be the inverse tangent. It's tan with a negative 1 on it. 22 over 15. To get here on the calculator, you just use the second button. So you'll go second, tan, and put in parentheses 22 over 15, and hit enter. When I do that on my calculator, second, tan, 22 over 15, I get, to the nearest tenth, 55.7 degrees. So y is approximately 55.7. If you want to know the angle, you use the inverse function. And it might be inverse tangent, if originally it was tangent, but it could also be inverse cosine or inverse sine. Okay, you should now, between this video and the one before it, know enough to do all the problems in section 7.4.